Well, hello, friends. Welcome to a brand new edition of The Shepherd's Voice, and I want to introduce to you now the host of the program, the Bishop of Trenton, David M. O'Connell. Welcome, Bishop.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to be back and good to be with everybody again. We've had a little bit of an absence, but now we're back and on track.
And you're back.
Yeah, fall is one of my 4 favorite seasons. Seriously, I love this time of year as the temperatures start to dip and the leaves change color. It just seems to be a pleasant time to be out and about.
Mm-hmm.
Here in our diocese, the Diocese of Trenton, we are focused on Pope Francis's convocation of the 16th Ordinary Synod of Bishops, and that's taking place. Frankly, it's almost all-consuming at this point.
Yeah.
And so we're working feverishly to make sure that we have a plan, a good strategy, and a plan for the diocesan synod, the diocesan part of the synod preparations. And I'll speak a little bit about that in a little while. As you know, of course, October is the month of the Holy Rosary. And I wrote an article in the Monitor. It's on the Monitor website and the diocesan website, inviting really the clergy and the faithful of the diocese to pray the Rosary with special fervor during Our Lady's month. I think it's a very important thing. And I invite our listeners, if they are able to look at that article, to take a glance at it on the Monitor website or on the diocesan website, and just to read it and maybe perhaps give some thought to it. One of the things the bishop is called to do is to lead the prayer life, the spiritual life of his diocese. And so I take that obligation very seriously. And that's why frequently around special feasts or special seasons of the year, I reach out to the diocese in the best way I can, and that's through writing and through our social media and publications. I was in the hospital a couple weeks ago, and during the hospital stay, I had a very interesting experience. You can't sleep in the hospital.
Right.
People are in and out all night long. So the night nurse, she was taking, my vitals before bedtime, and she saw that I had a rosary on the nightstand, on the night table there, and she asked me what it was. And she was a Hindu.
Oh.
And it was hard to believe, but she never ever heard the word rosary before.
Really?
And I asked her about the Blessed Mother, and she knew nothing about the Blessed Mother. And this person had been working at the hospital over 11 years, and was not a young person. Let's put it that way. I don't mean to insult, but she was a mature person, and I just found it odd. And I said to her, "Did you ever hear the song Ave Maria?" And she never did.
Really?
So she really didn't know anything about this particular side of our faith beliefs that we kind of take for granted.
Right.
So I explained the prayer. I showed her the rosary beads and explained this traditional prayer, and she was so interested in it. And I liken praying the rosary to the meditative beads that are part of her own religious tradition, and she got the point. And then I went through the rosary prayers. I told her what the prayers, and she was just fascinated. She wanted to know their meaning and their purpose and what the role of the Blessed Virgin Mary was in the Catholic religion. After a short time, she just interrupted me. She says, "I want to say this prayer. How can I learn them, these prayers?"
Wow.
And I told her, I said, "Well, here, you can go on to online and search rosary, and you'll get a number of explanations of it and so forth." And she was just very happy.
Wow.
to hear this, and I thought to myself, it just goes to show you how we can share our faith
Right.
in the most unlikely of places, wherever
right.
we are.
That's right.
The Catholic Church, as you know, Jim, and dear listeners, it has been blessed with the intercession of the Mother of God through this prayer, through the Rosary, since the 13th century, when, according to Catholic tradition, the Blessed Mother appeared to St. Dominic and gave him the idea of the Rosary. And there are, many legends and stories about how that came to be and what happened at the time and so forth. But its current form, which contains the sorrowful mysteries, the joyful mysteries, the glorious mysteries, and more recently, the luminous mysteries, are beautiful things. We call them decades of the Rosary. And the first 15 decades were formally established by Pope Pius V in the 16th century. And then, of course, we all know Pope John Paul II, Saint John Paul II in our time, added 5 other mysteries to the Rosary, the luminous mysteries. October, because it is the month of the Holy Rosary, I think the Rosary deserves special attention. And October 7th, of course, we celebrate the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. This prayer, and perhaps you're getting a sense that I'm very fond of this prayer. The Rosary is one of the most popular, and I would say powerful, meditative prayers of the Catholic Church, seeking the intercession of and the help of our Blessed Mother Mary in our daily lives. It's understandably attractive. It draws you in, praying to her divine Son, to the Lord Jesus, through her. The mysteries of the Rosary really, they contemplate the life of Jesus, but they do so through her eyes, through her special eyes. His death, his resurrection, and ascension, and the whole of his life, through Mary's eyes. She was there, after all. She was a witness to that throughout his life. And the Rosary, like all Catholic prayer, should lead us to the Lord Jesus with Mary as our intercessor and guide. She brings our prayers to her Son. She brings our prayers to the Lord Jesus through the Rosary. And, I often think, would any loving son refuse the request of his mother? I don't know. I pray the Rosary every day. And it gives me the chance, really, to remember the many prayer intentions that I get. Jim, as you're well aware, I travel around the diocese a great deal. I'm always on the road at some point or another, several times a week anyway. And in the course of my visits to parishes or schools or agencies or other forums, invariably someone will come up to me and say, "Bishop, would you pray for my son? He is not going to church." Or, "Would you pray for my daughter? She has breast cancer." "Would you pray for my mother?" "Would you pray for me?" "Would you pray for my husband?" And I get a lot of requests for prayers. And I use the Rosary as the opportunity to remember those people. I'm fortunate because when someone asks me to pray for them, their face, their intention does remain in my head. And, I can't remember the last time where I didn't fulfill the promise I've made to people to pray for them. So if you have a Rosary, and most Catholic families do, say it.
Yeah.
Pick it up and start saying the Rosary. It's a special, special prayer. If you already do say the Rosary, then teach it and share it with others. It's a blessing. This month, the month of the Rosary, is also Respect Life Month. And I'll say something about that in a bit. But I think what better time is there to pray for respect for life in all its stages, from conception to natural death, than by praying the Rosary at this time. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I invite everybody who's listening, all the clergy, all the faithful, all the religious, pick up the beads Pick up Mary's Rosary and pray it. You know, some of our great saints had such beautiful things to say about the Rosary. You know, Fulton Sheen, who is the patron, really, of this radio station, this network, he said, the Rosary, he calls it the Book of the Blind, where souls see and there enact the greatest drama of love the world has ever known. I can hear him saying
Right.
it, you know. It is the book of the simple, which initiates them into mysteries and knowledge that's much more satisfying than the education of other men. It's the book of the aged, he says, whose eyes close upon the shadow of this world and open upon the substance of the world to come. The power of the Rosary is beyond description. I believe that.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And so, folks, pray the Rosary.
That's right.
Important.
That's right.
I mentioned October 7th, Jim, the feast of the Holy Rosary. And on that feast day, I traveled down to St. Dominic's Parish, St. Dominic Parish in Brick,
Mm-hmm.
and I dedicated a new altar that's in the chapel of St. Joseph
Ooh, okay.
in the church, with Father Brian Woodrow, the pastor, and his wonderful parish priests who are with him, and some other priests who came, and the chapel was full. The artists who were responsible for some of the painting and some of the sculpture and so forth were present as well. And it was a beautiful Mass. It certainly was a beautiful day. And it's always great to be at St. Dominic Parish. And I thought it was a wonderful coincidence that in this year of St. Joseph, we have this special opportunity to honor St. Joseph and honor his beloved spouse as well, Our Lady of the Rosary. And so, beautiful, beautiful day. And I'm grateful to Father and to the parish for their hospitality. As you know, on October the 3rd and this past Sunday, October the 10th, I celebrated the annual Mass for wedding anniversary blessings, commemorating the milestones of folks throughout the diocese. We split it up into counties. We do Mercer and Burlington County at the Cathedral in Trenton, and Ocean and Monmouth at the Co-Cathedral in Freehold. And we had very, very good attendance. You know, people were married a year, 25 years, 50 years or more.
Yeah.
One of the occasions we had a couple were 70 years married.
God bless.
Beautiful, God bless, and some 64, 65 years. So it's a great occasion. I think people always look forward to it. Of course, the pandemic, you know, which is now pretty much a word in every thought and activity that people have. You know, it prevented us from gathering last year, and so those who were not able to celebrate last year joined this year's anniversary jubilarians, and so it was a great time, a beautiful time, beautiful occasion. I love it. I love being with the people and just celebrating their fidelity, their love, their constancy through life's ups and downs together.
Right.
It's a beautiful witness for people.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, it's a witness to us priests.
Yeah.
And there's always a group of priests who attend. Their pastors or parish priests from the various counties represented, and it's really a humbling lesson to us about how to love in this world and to stay faithful. On October 10th, a little fly on the wall told me you were broadcasting the Red Mass.
We
had
did.
the noon Red Mass at St. Michael's Church in St. Michael Church in West End. Father John Butler, who is such a great pastor, a good priest, who's also a lawyer.
Yes.
He really has been promoting this Mass over the last couple of years. And it's basically become a Mass for the judiciary and the legal profession in Monmouth County. That's the draw. It was a little bit of an overcast, drizzly day, but it was great to see everybody and to be able to pray for our judiciary, to pray for those who are ministers of justice and ministers of the law, as I call them, to pray for the year ahead, to pray for all of the intentions that are important to us all and are affected by the law and its application and its administration. So enjoyed it. Father Jeffrey Lee preached.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Father Lee gave a beautiful homily. I told him afterwards, I said, you really should try to get that published. It was quite good. Father Lee, is, as you know, is the pastor of St. Mary in Colts Neck, and I was very grateful for his presence. So tonight, what am I doing on a Friday night in October? I'm going to the
Carving pumpkins? I don't know.
Well, that would be something to do. I'm going to the Mount Carmel Guild Gala, which will be held at the Trenton Country Club tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mary Inkrot is the executive director of the Mount Carmel Guild. She does a great job, along with her staff and the many, many volunteers who help out. The Mount Carmel Guild, I'm sure many of our listeners are familiar with it, but just in case you want it provides home health nursing, especially to the elderly and those who are homebound, as well as community support, which includes the provision of food from our food pantry. And these are our main modes of regularly serving the community here in basically Mercer County. It's ways to support. People ask me frequently, how can I do something? What can I do? Well, the Mount Carmel Guild is one organization. It's one of my personal charities. It does provide us an opportunity to meet the needs of the poor and the needy. And I've been there on occasion, and I've seen the people as they come in. And, you know, it can be a little humiliating to have to depend on others for sustenance, for the basics of life. But with great dignity and great charity, the Mount Carmel Guild is there for them and has been for over 100 years. Yeah. So I would say to folks, you know, if you're looking for some opportunity to show love and charity, the Mount Carmel Guild is worth it. And if you Google them, you can find a link to the Mount Carmel Guild website and an opportunity to give. It's a worthy cause. I mentioned earlier, Jim, Respect Life Month. October is Respect Life Month. You know, it's funny, when I say that, when I think of that, I really say every month should be Respect Life Month. I wrote an article in the Monitor. It's on the Monitor website and the Diocesan website about Respect Life Month and shared some thoughts on this very important cause. This month of October, it's a time dedicated to the effort to protect the sanctity of all human life from conception to natural death. The focus of this year, as you know, the overarching focus, I almost smile when I say that because all of a sudden there are a gazillion focuses, foci,
That's right,
that have been presented to us. But this year is called the Year of St. Joseph. And the Bishops' Conference have blended Respect Life Month and this Year of St. Joseph together in a beautiful way. We refer to St. Joseph as the defender of life. And on the website for the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, usccb.org, there's a beautiful prayer there to St. Joseph, defender of life, that is worth saying. I sent it out to the pastors in the parishes, and hopefully some of them have printed it in their bulletins or made it available on their website. But the Church invites us at this time to consider every means, to use every means at our disposal, to advocate on behalf of life. And as I said earlier, you know, the rosary is certainly a beautiful, beautiful way. As you may know, kind of dovetailing on that message, the New Jersey State Legislature is promoting the Reproductive Freedom Act. That's what it's called. And this has been on the on the radar screen for months and months and months. New Jersey, I'm not sure if everybody is aware of this, has the most permissive abortion laws in the United States, our state. And the attempt is being made aggressively, I would say, to try to make sure there's no way that the state can turn back. You know, some states have modified legislation regarding abortion. You know, the Supreme Court in Texas has a pretty well-known legislation that, or judgment, I should say, that after 6 weeks, I think, no abortion is permitted once they hear the fetal heartbeat, which makes tremendous sense. Okay, this week, the New Jersey State Board of Medical Examiners voted unanimously to approve expanding abortion services in New Jersey at this time. These are medical examiners. Remember the old Hippocratic Oath, do no harm?
Right.
And whatever happened to that?
That's right.
They voted unanimously to extend it. You know, I have to say, I just cannot understand the aggressive attack on human life, through abortion especially, but in other ways, on the elderly and the sick, euthanasia and the so-called death with dying that was put into law last year. I think it was last year or the year before. Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
And it just seems to be, it doesn't seem to be dying down at all. It seems to be coming more and more. Every time you turn around, every news website or journal or newspaper, or something about abortion. And this is really, it's a grave concern. It should be a grave concern, and not just to Catholics.
Right.
Although it should be to us, as the Pope Francis has frequently reminded, this is not just a religious issue.
Right.
Okay, this is a human issue.
That's right.
That we are confronting here. And I have to say, the pro-choice position of Catholics, whoever they are, is tantamount to murder, the promotion of murder. And that's a strong statement, but it's not just how I feel, it's how the church feels and what the church teaches. Now, our New Jersey Catholic Conference, which is the 5 bishops of the dioceses of New Jersey, along with the staff, the executive director, Jim King, and his staff, we are really working hard against some of these efforts, legislative efforts, in the state. And we have a strategy and approach that we're taking in the New Jersey Respect Life ministry, and also in the Diocese of Trenton, in our diocesan Respect Life ministry. Sometimes people, and understandably so, grow very impatient. They maybe don't know the strategy or don't know the rationale for the approach that is being taken, something that we're studying, something that we've got a lot of consultation on, and they just say, well, let's just do this or that or the other thing, And a lot of the pro-life groups are splintering.
Mm-hmm.
So where there were 3, now there's 7.
Right.
And each one is, and I think the division is probably not helpful to the cause,
right.
But to be pro-life is important, and I certainly support it with all my heart. But I must honestly say, I think we're going at these things, the Reproductive Freedom Act and the other things, cautiously but smartly.
Mm-hmm.
And when the time comes for us to put on the full court press, I'll be the first to invite everybody to participate in it. And the best thing we can do right now is pray, promote life whenever you can, advocate life whenever you can, and just work as hard as you can to support those who support life.
Yeah.
That's really the bottom line.
That's
I
right.
would say, everybody's quick to say, "Oh, you got to excommunicate everybody," and you got to. That doesn't work. Doesn't mean a darn thing to these people.
They don't care.
They don't. They don't care enough to care for life. What are
Right.
they going to care about excommunication?
Right.
So, it's a tool that is not particularly effective. Jim, I got a notification. Periodically, it comes across my desk, and so I issued an advisory. We've been made aware of individuals formerly associated with the Roman Catholic Church, or maybe formerly priests or priests who've been suspended or expelled, who are now presenting themselves to Catholics as Catholic priests and offering services and sacraments to Catholics who are unaware of their illegitimate status. Catholic sees a man in a collar or a man in vestments,
Right.
Most don't stop to think, well, geez, I wonder if he's validly ordained. I
Right.
don't think of, they don't think of that.
Exactly.
The guy introduces himself as father and he uses the word Catholic.
Mhm.
But it's unfortunate because it's illegitimate and it's fooling people. For whatever the motivation, and maybe some of these guys have a good motivation. Frequently, they disagree with the teachings of the Catholic Church, and they're trying to cast the net wider to those who maybe whose lives also don't reflect the teachings of the Catholic Church. But these men frequently dress in a clerical collar or here in New Jersey, in a religious habit. And as I said, the word Catholic appears maybe on the website and so on. But if you dig deep, if you read down, they most do indicate that they're not connected to the Roman Catholic Church. But they don't tell that to a young couple that wants to get married on the beach or
Right.
do some other thing that is not ordinary practice in the diocese. When a priest has what's called the faculties or the authorization, the powers of a priest, here in the 5 dioceses in New Jersey, they are issued a card. It almost looks like a credit card. It has the picture, it has the stamp of the diocese,
Right.
it has a date of expiration, and it's what we call a suitability card. And if a priest doesn't have that, that should be your first clue that he's not validly exercising ministry. The problem comes in, a couple gets married and they're married invalidly, and then later on they want to have their children baptized or confirmed, or they want to be sponsors for
Right.
someone else's children, and it becomes problematic,
Yeah.
and it causes a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot of anger. Do it the right way. If you're seeking the sacrament, seek them from a validly ordained, authorized Catholic priest. And honestly, if you were to say to a priest who approaches you or you become aware of or someone introduces you, do you have the faculties of your diocese? They have to answer honestly. And if they say no, then stay away.
Yeah. Are they approaching people? Hours?
Yeah, they are approaching
Really?
people, and sometimes they appear at funerals, or
Really?
they offer to do weddings, and again, weddings in venues that the Catholic Church in this state doesn't permit or doesn't encourage, and other things as well, counseling and so on. Some of them have churches where they offer a service that looks like the Mass and seems like the Mass. I don't want to make more out of this than is necessary, but I just, every once in a while, I have to caution people
Be aware.
because I run into it all the time, and it's unfortunate for people, especially young couples,
Yeah. Who don't really know.
who don't really know. And as is frequently the case, even in our own Catholic parishes, it's not the bride or the groom who does the arrangement. It's the mother or the grandmother.
Right.
So they're the
Right.
ones that are calling, and we want to make sure that the lines of communication are clear. So always ask the priest if he has the faculty of the diocese before you pursue a sacrament with him. And don't hesitate to contact the diocese if if you're if something seems questionable or strange or
Yeah.
curious to you. Now, about some of these other things, like funerals and prayers at a funeral parlor or something like that, it's good. Everybody can pray. Anybody can pray for the dead. But if they're expecting Catholic ritual, it should come from a Catholic priest.
Mhm.
So just everybody pray. Sure, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But if you want a Catholic ritual, you should have the awareness of who's a priest and who isn't.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right. Well, I know we have here on file, what our good friend and spiritual director is from the Diocese of Camden, but he handed me his letter of suitability and just keep it on file here
Yeah,
so that it's
absolutely.
always available.
Even I have to give it.
Mhm.
If I go to another diocese to celebrate Mass
Mhm.
or a wedding or a funeral or something like that, I just bring my letter of suitability.
Right.
Here in this diocese, we developed this
little
novel
card.
approach of
Mhm.
like this little credit card type thing.
Yeah.
And
Like a
that's
driver's
easy.
license.
Yeah, it's like a driver's license. You
Right.
put it in your wallet.
Yeah.
You go to a parish, you show it to the priest,
Yeah.
and you can. There have been some difficult situations where priests who from out of state or from
Right.
religious orders, they just presume they can come in and can't celebrate a funeral or a wedding or something like that. And if they don't have a letter of suitability, because other states don't have these cards,
Mhm.
so you have to have a letter. If they don't have a letter of suitability, the pastor has to say to them, "I'm sorry, you can't come celebrate."
Right.
And I've had to do it. I have had to pull priests out of line
Oh, yeah.
at masses
Yeah.
because they, I don't know who they are. And with all of this concern we've had in recent years about misconduct,
Sure.
you don't know who the person is. You don't have any testimony that the person should be celebrating. So
Right.
in our diocese, every parish, every priest who celebrates, or deacon for that matter, any clergy, have to have a suitability, a letter of suitability, if they are going outside of the diocese.
Right.
We all know who they are and who's who in the diocese.
Right.
But this is for when you go outside of the diocese or someone from another diocese comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And someone from other state or outside of New Jersey, certainly it becomes even more. You have less of a chance of knowing who they are or
Right.
where they've been and so on. It's a safeguard that was instituted to protect people, especially the young, in light of recent history.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
How about this Sunday, Bishop, at 3:00?
what? Something going
Something
on
going
this
on, right?
Sunday? Yeah, this Sunday, October 17th, at the Cathedral in Trenton, at 3 p.m., as we said, there will be a Mass for the opening of the Diocesan Synod. It also will be, coincidentally, the celebration of the 140th anniversary of the Diocese of Trenton, which was established in 1881 on August 2nd. Now, this was just to divert, as I'm good at doing. There was a big controversy, the Chancery, about the actual date of the foundation or establishment of the diocese.
Oh, okay.
So I was not here. I was another one of my hospital visits. And so I heard about this little bit of a controversy because the internet and the diocesan history says August 2nd. But somehow August 11th kind of crept in as a date. So people weren't sure. And then in the Chancery, they asked me to write to the nuncio because we don't have a copy of the bull of
Okay.
the document of establishment from Pope Leo XIII because it was burnt when the cathedral fire occurred in
okay.
1957.
Okay.
So I wrote to the Holy See to ask them if they had a copy or they could send me a copy of the original bulla, as it said in Latin. And then I got a quick call. What are you talking about? We don't have that. Don't you have it there in the diocese? And I said, no, but it burned in a fire. Well, who issued it? I said, well, I don't know. It came under the papacy of Leo XIII. But
Right.
I don't know which congregation or dicastery introduced it. So we're in the process of trying to track it down so we can get a copy of it to put in and the chancery. But the
Okay.
chancery here's where the confusion came in. The diocese was established. It was kind of carved out of the Newark territory, which at that time was all of New Jersey. And the first bishop was appointed on August 11th.
Oh,
But the diocese was established on August 2nd.
okay.
So sometimes there's a little bit of confusion there. But anyway,
Well, I want to say I'm always amazed because I grew up in the New Brunswick area. I was confirmed by Bishop R. The Diocese of Trenton was massive. Even and this is only 50 years ago.
it's still pretty massive.
Yeah, I
think
read
it's
exactly.
the largest land distribution of a diocese in New Jersey. Not the largest population. Newark, of course, is the largest population. And Newark is the metropolitan see from which Trenton was born, created. But it is a pretty massive. I can't imagine, say, in Bishop R's time. And that was a time when confirmation had to be done only by the
I
bishop.
know. That's what I'm thinking. How did he get it? How did he must
To
have been,
travel around.
Right.
He must have been on the road constantly.
Sure.
And, for us in these days, I try to do half of the confirmation. I try to get to a parish every 2 years, or certainly every 3 years,
Right.
for a visit and to do the confirmation and so on. But the church's law was changed, and it allows for designated priests to share that authority and that ability with the bishop. And so I have 4 Episcopal vicars in each county, Mercer, Burlington, Monmouth, Ocean. It's a priest that I appoint who represents me. He's kind of like my alter ego for that region, for that county. And so they help me with the confirmations. Because honestly, we have 190, or let's see, we have 98 parishes. So that's, if you round it to 100, that's a third of the year that you'd be on the road going to do confirmation.
Right.
I like doing them, and there's nothing against them. But we try to split. I take half, and then we split the others among the vicars, and it works very well. We don't do a mass as some other dioceses do. We do the confirmation ceremony, or the sacrament outside of mass. And the reason for that is it gives us the opportunity really to concentrate on the sacrament itself of confirmation and all aspects of it. And that also has been, we've been doing that for a number of years, certainly since I came as bishop, became bishop. And it seems to work out well. Those are great days, exciting days. I encourage our catechist and religious education teachers, as well as our teachers in our Catholic schools, really to do a good job in teaching the children what it is that our faith teaches and what it is that our church believes, so that they're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
You remember in the old days, the bishop would come to the parish and during the confirmation ceremony, which before, like around the pre-Vatican time, was not a mass; it was a ceremony. But at some point, the bishop would ask questions. of the
That's right.
students.
We knew our
Remember?
Baltimore Catechism.
Whoa, with fear and trembling, right?
That's right.
So, of course, I was always the nerdy kid that raised my hand. But I never got called on. I think I was too enthusiastic.
Well, God eventually called on you.
Well, yeah, that's right. He did. He called me. And I have learned a thing or two.
Yeah.
But I don't do that. But what I try to do in a homily, and it's not a really long homily, but I try to explain the sacrament, explain the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and some practical thing that I hope the kid can take away for the rest. Because you only receive confirmation once in a lifetime.
Right.
But it's meant to last a lifetime, its graces and effects. So that is interesting. Well, how did he get off?
Well, I kind of diverted us. I want to get back to the synod because
we have to get to the synod.
So we have the mass on Sunday, but and the Holy Father is synodality. Is that the proper?
Yeah, the Holy Father convened this synod on April 24th, and he asked that the synod be devoted to the notion of journeying together. The word synod comes from two Greek words, which basically means common road or common path. And so synodality is the process of walking on a common path together. And so that's where the terms come from. You're going to hear this uh, all the time for the next year or so.
Wasn't this something though that Saint Pope Paul VI
Yeah.
talked?
Well, I'll tell you the story. Synods are not something new.
Right.
They've been around since the second century of the church's history. And synods were, at that time, more regional gatherings of bishops and church leaders to discuss and debate different aspects of church teaching and things that, the church's formulation of its teaching and expression of its teaching didn't happen overnight. I mean, Jesus didn't ascend to heaven and all of a sudden we had the whole package.
Right.
Tradition, theological traditions, scriptural traditions, and all of that develop over time. They don't change radically. I mean, what we believe in the divinity of Christ, what we believe in the virginity and motherhood of Mary, I mean, these things haven't changed. We still believe what we believe, but the expressions of it change, how we describe. Anyway, the synods served that purpose for making sure that there was correct teaching and correct practice in different parts of the world. In 1965, after the Second Vatican Council, and as you know, the Second Vatican Council was kind of an introspective look at the church and its practices with a view toward moving forward and moving out of itself. So our Holy Father, Pope St. Paul VI, established or created the Synod of Bishops as a permanent institution. In the past, it was a synod occurred when there was a need or when there was an issue, but Pope St. Paul VI, he decided to have this permanent institution, whereas the bishops of the world would advise and counsel the Pope on a regular basis. That's called an ordinary synod every so many years. And on an extraordinary basis when there was some special need or some special issue that came forward. This synod is the 16th ordinary synod, going back, as I said, to Pope St. Paul VI. And Pope John Paul II had synods, Pope Benedict had synods, and now Pope Francis after him. The framers or the fathers of this synod, with the Holy Father as at the lead, wanted to talk about how the church operates, how the church functions, how the church lives and survives in the world. And so they decided to talk about the process of all of us being together and walking together in the church. And different from other synods, this synod is unique in that it's divided into three parts. There's a diocesan part, and that's what we're in right now. There's what's called in the documents a continental part, the Conference of Bishops. It's the national or the national region, and then the Universal Synod, which is the ordinary way that synods meet, and that's selected or appointed or elected bishops go to Rome for a month, and with the Holy Father discuss and consider certain aspects of church life and polity and all of that. So, the Diocesan Synod, the Pope convened the Synod. He said the opening Mass last Sunday in Rome and gave a beautiful talk on what he'd hoped the Synod would accomplish. And basically his thought is the Holy Spirit, we have to let the Holy Spirit go in our midst and listen. That's the word it's using. Encounter Christ, encounter the Spirit, encounter one another.
Right.
And so on. So the theme of this year's, it's actually a 2-year process because, again, it was supposed to be last year, the pandemic set it back.
Right.
Is communion, participation, and mission. That's what synodality is. By the way, I wrote an article in the Monitor on this very thing, give a little bit of the history and what's expected in this synod, and so you can find that if you look in the Monitor website or the Diocesan website. Jim, I'm not promoting myself, but these are my teaching. These
That's
are my
right. Well,
ways
that's
to
your job.
teach the diocese, and so just offer that to the folks. All of us, every bishop in the world has been asked to write a pastoral letter for his diocesan synod, and so that I did, and that I published last Sunday after the Pope's Mass was finished. I published mine for the diocese, again available on our websites. In which I talk about the synod and synodality and what this all means. I think what the Pope is asking, he's trying to reach out. Of course, the pandemic, a lot of people were not going to church. They
Right.
couldn't go to church and had a lot of emotional, psychological reactions to the pandemic that threw their lives into a tizzy, as it were.
Right.
As well as the fact that in recent years we've seen rapidly declining numbers of people going to Mass.
Right.
And if you can believe some of the surveys, I don't know that I believe all of the surveys, but you believe some of the surveys, declining understanding of the Eucharist. You know, some surveys say only 30% really believe in the real
Yeah.
presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Well, that's frightening.
Yeah.
Because the Vatican Council says it's the source and the summit of our life. So the synod is an attempt to recover. You know, Pope Francis, he has demonstrated over these years, you know, a real desire for unity in the church, for what's called collegiality, that people work together in the church, and in some sense, maybe looking at some of the ways the church does things and reforms them or changes them. You know, and when you hear the word reform doesn't mean the past was bad. Doesn't mean that at all.
Right.
It means that it's time to look at things maybe through a different lens.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a different way to accomplish the same good the church has always wanted to accomplish. And you will hear sometimes people are very critical of Pope Francis, and unfairly so, I think. But they say, you know, well, he's the reformer, he's changing everything, you know. Council of Trent had the theme, Semper Reformanda Ecclesia. The church is always reforming itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very good frame of mind. But it doesn't mean that the church has changed itself. We're not looking for another church,
Right.
as the theologian Yves Congar said. We're looking for a different church, and hopefully a better way to preach the gospel, to evangelize, and to live the way that Christ wants us to live. And the Pope just wants us to talk to one another,
Yeah.
which is something we don't do.
Right.
So going back to the Diocesan Synod, I will say the Mass on Sunday. I issue the decree opening the Synod. I've appointed 2 people to co-chair the Synod this year. And the Synod's going to be fast and furious. It's October, and the diocesan phase is going to be over in April. So that's not a lot of time.
Right.
And I must say, I think Rome didn't give us a whole lot of advance warning or advance opportunity to get things ready.
plan,
So we're
yeah.
kind of, I don't want to say scrambling, but headed in that direction of that word. We're trying really to make it all work and to put it together quickly. So I've appointed Mary Liz Ivins. Mary Liz is the former principal of Notre Dame High School in Lawrenceville. Very fine, good Catholic woman who's a wonderful principal, did a great job. But I've asked her if she would co-chair the Synod, along with Deacon Patrick Brannigan. And Pat used to be the executive director of the New Jersey Catholic Conference.
Okay.
So both of them, with their life experience, have a real good gift for organizing and doing things. And they're going to work along with me and with our Chancellor Terry Ginther, who is also the executive director of Pastoral Life and Mission. And they're going to try to come up with a strategy, a plan, so that everybody who wants to, everybody who calls the Catholic Church their home or did call it their home at one time, will have an opportunity to share or their feelings, their experiences about being Catholic,
Mhm.
and how has the church helped them in their life of faith? What things in the church have hindered their growth in their life of faith? What things do they think they can do to make the church a more vital part of the world in which we live?
Mhm.
I'll tell you what the synod is not going to be, because I can't describe all the different things that we're going. There'll be a questionnaire
Mhm.
available. There will be parish meetings, listening sessions. There will be some things at the diocesan level. Lots of things. Stay tuned, because they're still in the process of being developed. I have a meeting on October 21st with the co-chairs, and we're going to line up a strategy. But you know. In each parish, hopefully there'll be opportunities for parishioners to gather with their pastor and just talk.
Mhm.
What the synod isn't, and I want to make this very clear, because I think the secular media sometimes can present
Right.
an incorrect or inaccurate picture. This is not an exercise in democracy. Okay, we're not going to all get together and decide what has to be changed, and then it's going to be changed. We're not changing what the church's doctrine is. The synod is not going to change the sacraments of the church and all of the essential elements of church life.
Mhm.
The synod is going to offer people the chance to talk about how those things affect them,
Yeah.
and how those things lead to Christ, or how the way some of those things are presented lead away from a relationship with Christ. So people should not expect that. The synod and the various sessions are not gripe sessions, and I hope they won't turn into that. I fear that will occur. Opportunities to complain about their pastor,
Mhm.
or me, the bishop, or things of that nature. And the Pope has said these are not opportunities for debating the same old things.
Mhm.
It's not an opportunity. Well, women should be ordained, and we want that, and that's what's got to be, and all the issues.
Yep.
It's an opportunity to talk and to listen. It's not going to be an opportunity to have someone come to your parish and lecture you, or when you say something to have someone correct you.
Mhm.
It's an opportunity for all of us together to listen. Hence, synod,
Yeah.
common road, common path, and we just have to be open to the Holy Spirit and see where the Holy Spirit leads us. So I don't know that I can say too much more than that. I'll have a homily on this on Sunday. I've written on it. My pastoral letter gives you a lot of the history and the details of it. So put it all together, wrap it up, and put a bow on it, and there you'll have the
Okay.
synod.
So it's Sunday, 3:00,
Sunday, 3:00.
the cathedral here in Trenton.
Yep.
And,
Everybody.
we can broadcast that easy.
Can you?
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
oh,
Now
that'd
with
be wonderful.
now with the streaming video, I just plug into the YouTube channel and put it on and get the audio that way. So
Because it will be live streamed
Yeah.
for those who can't make it or
Right.
would rather not make it.
on the diocesan YouTube
On the
channel.
diocesan YouTube channel, and as they say, all are welcome. I'm reminded, I think, of the synod of James Joyce.
Mhm.
The way he used to describe the Catholic Church.
Mhm.
Here comes everybody. And that's hopefully what we'll see in this synod. Everybody will come, everybody will participate. Those who are practicing, those who are lapsed, or who have been negligent or have fallen away, men, women, young, old, whatever your
All right.
persuasion, economic,
Uh-huh.
social status. Hopefully all of us in the
That's
church
our church.
will have a chance to say what they're thinking and what they're feeling, and together we'll journey forward.
Very good, Bishop. Well, thank you. Time's up. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll
Good to be
look
back.
forward. Yeah, good to have you back. We'll look forward to the Mass 3:00 this Sunday, and we'll see you
Great.
next month.
Good. God bless you.
God
God
bless
bless everyone.